In the far reaches of the solar system lay a world that has become erased from all imperial records of the current era. The year is 849 of the 41st millennium, and the Adeptus Mechanicus guards the planet Thro by its engine seer Festus Gamma 23.
This planet holds much knowledge for the servants of the Omnissiah to collect. We believe it to have been a blessing. The amount of bloodstone present here was higher than what we had expected initially. We should have known that they were here. Engine Seer Hephaestus, we have gathered the 10 Skitarii warriors to accompany you on your pilgrimage to the Necron Temple. They should be adequate to deal with any resistance that is given. May the machine god bless you, for our men lay ready.
The sands of Thro would lacerate the flesh off of any organic beings and leave them husks of flesh and bones. The Mechanicus knew no such pain as their metallic bodies ventured through the intense climate.
We had followed him 3 days and 3 nights into the desert. The sand was finding its way into our gears, grinding us with each step. We had a few more hours till we arrived at the destination our engine seer had divined. It was then that we saw it, hidden behind the scorching winds and grinding sands. A great monolith, a pyramid of pure onyx, glittering like the beacon in the desert that it was. The green coloration still withstood the harshness of the environment. The massive doors beckoned before us, decorated with the runes of those unholy necrotic machines.
In the temple, they found no security, no force to fight against their intrusion. All that lay inside was dust and the terminal. When they attempted to access the confidential information, it set about to punish them for their transgression. Bodies of steel and soulless intent rising from the rubble and ruin, their weapons crackled with green energy, the knowledge of which had been lost to time. Whether they survived would be based on their skills, and if the Omnissiah would favor them that day. As the explorators were taken by surprise, the Necron security protocol activated, deploying an equal number of forces as the intruders. The metallic defenders began to open fire, spewing forth crackling green energy from their weaponry as the long abandoned halls were brightened by the glow. The Vanguard activated a defensive smokescreen to aid in protecting their most valued priest. This action provided momentary cover against the onslaught of fire, saving the priest and leaving the back wall of the temple singed by the errant blasts of energy. As the Vanguard used the smoke launchers, 2 units of the security forces began to engage in close combat. With blinding speed, they quickly entered the fray, appearing almost as a blur, but they failed to damage the swift Skitarii. Hephaestus linked one of the cohort to the terminal, thus granting the priest access to his weapons to take up arms against the mechanical abominations. He rushed forward, leveling his taser pole straight at the foe. Creating a neural link between all Skitarii changed the explorators into a more cohesive force, ensuring that the prime directive of uploading knowledge for the Omnissiah would be achieved. The strategy would be to either remove or distract the attackers, allowing the priest to gather the data more quickly. The mighty engine seer lunged at the Necron force. Relentless blows from the enemy caused what would be left of the flesh upon his shoulders to be removed. A shot managed to blast through a Necron headpiece, causing it to fall limp onto the ground, a reminder that these creatures were capable of being harmed. The sickening green glow of the Necron weaponry crashed through the chest of the cybernetic Skitarii, causing it to fall to the ground. The room began to smell of burning flesh and a rise in temperature as the radiation levels increased. each side firing upon the other with ruthless intent to destroy. The two sides lost one after the other, exchanging lives, or what passes for it in their cybernetic and robotic forms. The explorators' forces soon became worryingly small as a shot grazed the automaton currently connected to the terminal. This momentary crisis caused Hephaestus to divert his attention toward ensuring the ancient knowledge's retrieval. Without hesitation, and sensing the opening, multiple verdant shots peppered the engine seer's body, resulting in the loss of both organic arms and a significant portion of the engine seer's body. All the years of knowledge would become lost if he were to fail. The Scutari were now focusing all their attention on the destruction of these abominations. Though badly damaged, the security forces began to activate the living metal around them, repairing damage that had been done. The Vanguard held off a portion of the enemy force's fire. The fight against the machines would eventually begin to overwhelm them. The bladed edges of their enemies' weapons pierced and ripped through the robotic body of the Vanguard, Necron blades cutting through their cybernetics, as if no more sturdy than the sands of the desert. Before its death, it had managed to rupture the metal from the face of one of the attackers, and now it lay defeated on the ground, the battle drawing towards its end. The priest focused his efforts on the offensive, spreading the shots of the Mechanicus troops throughout the opposing side. This action would prove beneficial, as the formation would encircle the terminal as the shots rang out. Two more blasts of energy would contact the Scutari explorator team as the landing discharges began to disintegrate them. The force's gunfire had begun to damage the temple. The ceiling began to cave in, resulting in rubble to crash onto the battlefield. The Scutari easily adapted to the situation and took full advantage of the blessing given. From behind the cover, they were able to destroy two Guardians, opening an exit from this place. The Mechanicus began to lay more heavy fire upon their monstrous foes. A particularly spectacular shot blasted straight through a Necron warrior, causing its metallic body to spray its living metal across the corridors of the room. More precision blasts were fired, resulting in many deaths amongst the robotic forces that battered against the group. Once the desired level of security had been achieved and the necessary data collected, the linked warrior was disconnected from the terminal. The mission was now to escape the temple before its destruction. The group gathered what remained of their vanguard, as well as their valued tech priest. The opposing forces fired shot after shot, each one just barely skimming off the armored plates. With every shot fired by the Necrons, twofold were dealt by the Mechanicus forces. The most tactical option would be to escape with the knowledge and build a more potent force to delve deeper into the planet's vault. Their group was leaving with less than half of their original fighting force. The sand of the desert blasted their armor, beginning to strip the paint from their metal enchantments. The group, not wanting to risk the chance of another surprise attack, hurriedly requested transports to safely and quickly return the data to the factory's central terminal to be stored. After 2 days of constant movement and still waiting for a response, a transport arrived to collect them all. It brought them to the headquarters upon the moon of Thro. Hephaestus, Gamma 2-3, was in critical condition and was rolled into the operating arena to begin his process of healing. As he laid upon the table, he could feel everything. The heat of the welding torch replacing the metal of his limbs, the glare of the Scutari and servitors around him. What truly hurt was his pride. In his many centuries of toil, he had never experienced such humiliation. He would not make the same mistake again.